Hey everyone, welcome to A Theory of Nothing. I'm the host, Scott Schaefer. I'm doing a little follow-up video here, pretty quick little follow-up video, only because the video I pushed out yesterday regarding Play That Funky Music White Boy by my memory's sake as being KC and the Sunshine Band got some really mixed results from everybody who chimed in. And hey, I appreciate everybody. Look, it doesn't matter what your reality of memories are on some things. Sometimes we have different memories. Now, I know there are some things that are just flat out, just straight up wrong, misremembered. And people sometimes get things wrong, and sometimes people try to stretch. Look, with me, as you guys all well know, any of you guys who are my subs or who watched any of my videos for any amount of time or going all the way back to the beginning, I go off of my own true thoughts, my own experiences, and my own memory on stuff like that. And I do dig a little bit of research. Now, yesterday, I did some really quick research before doing that video to just see what my wife was talking about with the band. And, I had slight corrections. She said she knew the song all along, that it was Play the Funky Music White Boy, but she couldn't remember who originally sang it per se. She just knew it wasn't Wild Cherry because she never heard of him before. So what I wanted to do is, because I got so many mixed thoughts from everybody, I just wanted to do a quick little follow-up on some additional research that I did today. So if you guys take a look at this is just a Google research item for some of the different things, and I don't know if this even comes out right. I think it might, but it's recording when I'm looking at my screen. It's like really backwards, so hopefully it flips it around. But anyways, these are a whole bunch of just searches when I typed in, Play That Funky Music White Boy by, there you go. Play That Funky Music White Boy by the KC and the Sunshine Band. So, we get some general searches, so I'm not the only one that remembers it that way. Obviously, there's other people that remember it that way. We'll go with this place right here, which is I think a Brazilian website. They remember it that way. Let's do this one. This is a pretty popular website here, Metro Lyrics. Fairly big website. They have it very tuned in. They remember it. Yes, and it didn't print, but it said KC right here. It's kind of smoked out. Sunshine Band. Play That Funky Music White Boy. Let's do another one. Those of you who claimed, hey, you've got the things, you learned how to play it, you play the guitar and everything else. Well, here's some musical chord instruments by AZ Chord. KC and the Sunshine Band, Play That Funky Music. And the list can go on and on. Here's one that I found kind of interesting. Not that it means anything because of their namesake, but, genius, right? Play That Funky Music White Boy, and they've even got a picture of KC Band right there. And in there, they had it listed down in here somewhere or other. I forgot to highlight it. But it was in there, Play That Funky Music White Boy. The other one was Lyrics Box, which I don't know if that one's popular or not for lyrics, but they remember it that way. And then one of the other ones that I found really interesting, and this is a newer one. This one's dated April 10th. Oops, let's focus here. This one's dated April 10th, 2019. And some people may think it's a stretch, but I don't. So we've got 107, let me refocus it here, 107 The Eagle. And they're talking about a music festival down in, I believe it's Florida. So you got KC and the Sunshine Band at the fair on 8/3. And we go all the way down to here. And right in here it says KC and the Sunshine Band will be playing the funk music. Now, you could go, well, okay, that's just saying that they're going to play the funk music. But they don't say, it doesn't say KC and the Sunshine Band will be playing the funk music or funk music at the County Fair. They say specifically KC and the Sunshine Band will be playing that funky music. So I want to be very clear about that right here. KC and the Sunshine Band will be playing that funky music at the Clark Fair. So what does that mean? Could mean absolutely nothing, or it could mean that my memory about who sings it, and having known it pretty well with that band having sung it, because is a true memory. That's at least my memory. Now, and again, I don't want to I won't beat up or knock anyone else for having a different memory, because I've kind of figured out, and I'm probably going to take off here because I got a tarp, as you guys see behind me, there's a tarp blowing behind me that may blow off, smack my vehicle. So there's a massive storm, high boob as they call it, right out here in the desert, right? Getting ready to blow through. So I'm going to head home to work, and I'll take you guys with me on the journey. Having met Ashley from Reality Sliders Mandela Effect, she's over in Europe, and we did. My wife and I did a phone conversation with her. I couldn't record it because something happened with the recording; it got messed up, which kind of was really irritating. I like Ashley. I like Ashley's perspective, and again, she's over in, I believe, England or Wales. I'm not sure. Ashley, you can correct it down in the comments below, because I know you watch my videos and you love to reply too. And you know, she has different memories on a lot of situations than I do. Some dating back to, you know, the originality, right? I am from the original arm in Sagittarius arm. I know that because that's my birthday. My birth sign is Sagittarius. Unless that's changed now, I haven't looked it up. But I'm born at the end of November, and my sign is Sagittarius. Okay? So therefore, being kind of a science geek as a kid and being into the NASA and space exploration, I always thought it was fascinating and cool that, you know, we were in the Sagittarius arm in the universe, and all the different planetary bodies, and, you know, going to the moon and all that kind of stuff. Like, I was really into as a kid. You know, now I'm getting bombarded lately on my YouTube feed and internet and everything else with moon landing, and all of a sudden all these video disclosures from MIT and everything else about the technology and how it was created and how it was used and how they had to program it, and all these issues and all these interviews and all this video footage and everything that was just supposedly lost has all of a sudden been magically found, right? And now this is of footage from the time with the original astronauts, which was lost. Like, according to NASA, it was gone, it was lost, or it was destroyed. They had no idea where it was at. So they had some. There was for sure absolutely some stuff that they had, but a lot of it was degraded or unusable. Now, these look very legitimate, and the crowds look legitimate. But as you well know, with anything technology-wise now, a lot of stuff can be created, especially with the deep fake technology that's going on with the image overlay and stuff like that people can do on videos. So, you know, I'm reserving judgment on some of that stuff. It seems very legitimate, but I still don't buy into the design of spacecraft and their ability to get it to the moon, on top of everything else. And that's just ignoring the fact of the Van Allen belts and thinking about just the moon in general, and going with the heliocentric model of the universe. And I'm not going to go any further into that matter, because I could go on and on and on, and I will. I'll do a nice, decent, long video. I'll pull down some information from NASA's website about the universe, the heliocentric model of the universe, and the movement, and how long it takes for stuff to move through the universe, and how fast they had to go to get to the moon, and their little figure 8 model that they did of going around the moon, and all that stuff. So I'll dive deeper into that and do a model out disclosure video about it. And in that, I'll either be backing up the space trip to the moon, or I'll be disputing it. So, based on diligent research and finding, because that's such a big matter, I don't want to just totally dismiss it. You know, a Mandela effect for me, the only Mandela effect for me really about that whole thing was that I really remember us only having gone once. And even going back to when the Apollo 13 movie came out, people go, well, you know, that Apollo 13 movie came out, so they obviously went back more than once. Well, Apollo 13 never landed on the moon. They had technical issues with the spacecraft and had to return to Earth in the LEM. And I just saw a video on it today. The astronauts talking about what happened, what went wrong, the real astronauts, that they had to load into the LEM and use the LEM, which doesn't have enough fuel to do this maneuver, by the way, but I digress. Use the LEM to drive the pod and the module back to Earth. Then they boarded the module and then discarded the LEM and discarded the in the capsule and discarded the module and all that kind of stuff, and then landed down safely. And anyways, it was a long documentary thing. I don't want to get too deep into it. I'll watch it again. But I knew Apollo 13 happened, but I thought that was our second attempt at actually landing on the moon. And again, I knew of us doing multiple missions up there, but the only one that I know that was successful at us landing in my old history was 11. And now it's different. Now we've been up 6 of 7 missions to the moon, and there's actually way more missions than that going to the moon, because before Apollo 11 ever even landed, I think 7, 8, 9, and maybe even 10 were all lunar orbit space flights to test trajectory and make sure that there was enough fuel and all this other stuff, and to measure gravitational forces of the planet, and to do a whole bunch of weird things. So yeah, way more than just 6 or 7 or 8 times. Again, I'll dive into that later on. Getting back to the music standard and the issue. I've talked about this in past videos, okay? And I'm not going to dispute anyone's claims that they remember it one way versus the way I remember it. I think there are some people on the internet that are very fictitious in their claims, that may not actually remember any damn thing, and will just propagate things to either stir a controversy or to create dissension, if that's their game, or I don't know, to get off, to get viewership, to get money. I don't know what their game is. I'm not going to do that. You guys know I'm very, very genuine. I don't try to monetize my channel. I don't have a ton of subscribers. I mean, I'm just over 200. So I'm about as truther for my own experiences and my own memory as I can be, and as honest as I can be. And I'm not just, when I come off on certain things, is it possible for me to have mismemories about stuff? Yes, absolutely. I won't dispute that. The human mind does have some fallibility to it as far as memory goes. Especially when you get older, and I'm not that old, but when you get older. But there's also things that get ingrained into your brain, ingrained into your mind. And getting back to Play That Funky Music, White Boy, right? There's only really, that I even remember, a few predominant bands of that era. Commodores is a big one, with Lionel Richie in it. And then Casey and the Sunshine Band, and there are others, for sure there are others, but those are like the two of the main, well-known bands of that era. And it could have been that Wild Cherry existed, but if you look up Wild Cherry's history, they were classified, they even classify themselves as having been a rock and roll band before the 70s. So when they started up their band in, what was it, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't really know. 1970, I believe, yeah, is when they formed the band. The boogie era was just kind of coming into effect. Now, they claimed that they were, and this is where the information gets really, really weird, they were a rock and roll band, and they had been all around doing shows and, not concerts, but like performances and different things like that beforehand, and were making a living as a band, traveling around. And that the lead singer who wrote this song, which is, some of you guys would probably know him, because now he's like super Mr. Popular. I don't, because I didn't have any idea who he was before now. Said, oh well, I got to be able to feed the family, and we got houses, and we got this, and we got kids, and we got all these other things. So therefore, he wrote that song, like literally on the way home from one of the concerts that they had just done, or a live show or whatever. And then they switched from being a rock and roll band. However, you can't find any rock and roll songs of them pre-76 when that song, when Play That Funky Music, White Boy was released as an album. So they went from a rock and roll band and nothing, and no one knowing them, and maybe some people know them, but I don't, and I couldn't find through Google, and now there probably will be tons of stuff on Google, but I couldn't find any preemptive music that was going back and dating before that time. And it's possible that they didn't record before then, but again, to me, until yesterday when my wife told me on the phone this Wild Cherry band name, I never heard of them. So those of you who have heard, good on you for that, for being in your original timeline and your original time structure. But do all of us a favor and don't, for sure, put out your knowledge. For sure, share your experience. For sure, share your past and your history and your memory. Don't presume that someone is just absolutely wrong and incorrect or ill-intentioned because they share a different history with you. Now notice I say different history, not a different memory, because memories can be fallible. My history is Casey and the Sunshine Band. Some people's history appears to have been the same as mine. Now, that's all I can say about all that. Moving forward, I've heard some ramblings and talks about people and feeling the Schumann resonance respiking again here lately. A lot of people have been getting very, very physically ill because of it. I don't know. I personally have been going through some just really, really weird oscillations, I'm going to say, and not necessarily just 100% physically how I feel, but definitely for sure that's a part of it. But in people around us, my wife and I, we have a few friends of ours that we hang out with all the time. And you know how you always had that one friend or maybe a few friends that you always thought were like a split personality disorder, or I can't even think of what the name is for it anymore right now, but it'll come to me probably in a minute. But where it seems like they're Mr. Nice one minute and then Mr. Mean the next minute, and like they're just not in control. There's another word for it. It's not split personality disorder, but anyways, we thought that this one friend of ours, through conversations with other friends, was this way because they have this duplicity of personality in their text messages and things that they post on the internet and stuff like that. And we're like, wow, even in their personality when they're out and about, we're like, wow, man, this guy shouldn't drink, this guy shouldn't do that, and I think he's supposed to be on meds. And we were thinking about it the other day, and my wife's like, well, with us noticing some stuff that's kind of been moving around and shifting around for us lately, is he really, does he really have a split personality trait, or is there just are we just coming across or running through different realities where there's different versions of him within those realities? I don't know. And everyone will have an opinion about it, and everyone's welcome to say their opinion, as long as you're not mean or nasty to any of the other subscribers. You can bring it on. I don't care how nice or mean your comments are to me. Don't talk about family, don't talk about friends, and don't talk about other subscribers. Probably should watch your language, or otherwise you'll get banned or removed from YouTube because of the censorship issues that's going on, but it is what it is. So anyhow, that's my follow-up from yesterday's video, so it'll be interesting to see what your additional comments are. Now, I had to, of course, when you Google, just talking about this for a minute, when you Google just the song, okay, and say, play that funky music or play that funky music, White Boy, of course you're going to get nothing but pages and 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 pages of Wild Cherry, because that's the current reality basis. Now, I couldn't find any old newspaper articles because I don't know that I did hardcore digging enough. But what's interesting is when finding a lot of these articles and stuff like that, I couldn't necessarily find dates on some of them postings. I know some of them were newer, like the one from that music radio station over there in Florida is newer, but I don't know. I probably found 10 or 12 pages in that specific grouping of words for that. Now most of them are the lyric pages, and okay, you go, well, people just didn't know and they misremembered it, and running the lyrics, and yes, that could happen. But I also found some forum discussions too on that, and I didn't print any of those out, that were talking about KC and the Sunshine Band's hit Play That Funky Music, and these forums were dated back to 2005 2006 era, which is pre Mandela Effect. Now there was some, just to be fair, there was some that I saw that looked like it was within the same year or two, that one had said, oh, KC and the Sunshine Band, and one had said, no, you're wrong, it's Wild Cherries, going back to that same year era. So, with that being pre what a lot of us assume was the main induction of the Mandela Effect, it's kind of, it kind of throws a little bit of that twist of questionability into the thought process for me. And I did find some where I guess 2005 is when, which is probably why all those discussions were happening. That's when Taylor Hicks had sang it on American Idol, and Simon Cowell just tore him a new one. Now I tried to find the videos of that, and didn't talk about who it was a tribute to at all, and a lot of times they don't. And going back to the website, it didn't give a nod to the artist. The Wikipedia page gave a nod to the artist of Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry. And a lot of stuff, to granted, says that now. So, I know a lot of you guys who do adamantly believe it was Wild Cherry and don't know it's Wild Cherry in your reality base, can date it back in your own thought process all the way to when you were kids, a lot of you. So, again, I'm not going to dispute your thoughts and imagination about all that. I don't know. I don't have the answers to what's going on. I know that I've had weird experiences, so has my wife, since we were children. So I don't think the shifting realities or fluidity of the realities or whatever we're in is that it's all just 100% causality of CERN and the particle collider. I think it may have been more of a mass shift of awareness to people. Maybe some of us are wired differently, and when they started running their accelerator, which is just a shit ton of magnets, that it affected the resonant frequency of the Earth, maybe, and or us, some of us who are connected to Mother Gaia, and things like that. And what the outfall of that is, I don't know. So anyhow, I dredged on a little bit in this video, sorry for that, but I just wanted to do kind of a follow-up to show that I ain't on the island of misfit toys alone with my thought process of who I thought it was. And oh, by the way, I did Google other bands like Commodores and things like that as related to that song, and I did not find like pages and pages and pages like I did on Google when I searched it specifically to KC. So typically, if it was going to be like, oh, Rick James is a mismemory, or it's the Commodores, or it was another band that sang those songs, you should find almost the same equivalent amount of pages as I found with this one related to those other bands, if we're just talking a confabulatory misremembrance. Okay? So that's kind of the backdoor approach of the research element too that people don't consider. Is they go, well, I did a search and I found that one person misremembered Rick James singing that song. Well, he may have sung that song. A lot of people sung that song. A lot of people have done tributes to that song, and or just sang it when on other shows. I mean, KC and the Sunshine Band were doing it at one of their last concerts, and the lead singer had, KC had walked off the stage, and they started playing the song, and they were like, I don't know, repeating the song for like 5 minutes straight in just the music end of it, trying to get him to come back on stage, because he was, he's old and he's tired, and he was kind of, they didn't know what was going on. I found an article, and that was in One of them, I don't think I printed it out, but that was in an article that on another fair concert or something like that he was doing. And it might have been one of their last like world tour concerts from Germany. I think it was over in Germany, but it was English translated and everything else. So, so who knows? Who knows what truth and reality is for everybody? All we can do is know what the truth and reality is for us as we experience it and as we remember it, right? So, anyways, until the next video, I've been your host, Scott Schaefer. This is A Theory of Nothing. Thank you for subscribing. Have a great night.